Yeah.
Good evening. I would like to call to order the Board of Supervisors meeting for April 15th at 7 p.m. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Any roll call to establish a quorum?
Supervisor Derek Tennille.
Here.
Supervisor Jeannie Vogel.
Here.
Supervisor Linda Wade.
Here.
Chairman Dan Wolfle.
I'm here.
Supervisor Mark Payne.
Here.
Okay, good to go. Next item on our agenda is introduction of people in our audience. So we'll let this lovely lady in the front row introduce herself, and then we'll go back.
Yeah. I think you got that.
You're the lovely lady.
You're up.
Okay, what's your next name?
Introduce yourself, my buddy.
Batyami,
This
what
one.
else?
Al Peterson.
All right.
Good evening, Hugh Zettel, District 14 County Board Supervisor, and 3986 Lincoln Drive.
Dale Wilco. Dale Wilco. On District 13, I got the lucky one. And my address would be 4693 on Windermere Drive.
Cool.
Trent Olson, 5856 Timber Ridge Road. Brady Olson, 3856 Old Highway Road.
Brian Leist, 4830 County Road P.
Craig Nellis, Highway 57, Sevastopol.
Grace Nellis, Highway 57, Sevastopol.
Pete Hirth, town resident, also here representing the Bank First project tonight.
Jeff Lang, 6417 Whitefish Bay Road.
Jeff McEver, 6449 Whitefish Bay Road.
Good enough. Derek?
Derek Demise, 4990 North Country Road.
Patty Chapman, Sevastopol.
All right. Welcome, and thank you all for coming this evening. Next item is public participation. So if there's someone here who would like to speak on non-agenda items, this would be your opportunity. Anyone? Then that would be you, Al.
I'm here basically because of the flagpole, Whitefish Bay boat ramp, or more or less Parker Beach now. It's not really a boat ramp that much, but myself and Bruce Richardson maintain that flagpole for, I don't know, 10 years or more. And you have to get an extension ladder to replace the bulbs. I made top lenses because they blew off the top. We've taken the fixtures right off the poles and replaced the sockets, which Bruce ordered. The lights have not worked for a couple of years now since I quit climbing the ladder leaning against the pole anymore. Pete Safransky has been buying the last couple of flags and getting reimbursed from the Whitefish Bay Association. I believe the town installed a new light where the steps are. Is that LED or something, that flat one?
Yeah.
Okay, and I think that's because one of the neighbors was complaining the other one was too bright shining in his bedroom, so this one shines down. In the process of that, and I don't know how or what, the photo eye for the breaker panel, which controlled the lights on the flagpole, has been bypassed, disconnected. So the power goes directly to this new fixture. Probably because the new fixture's got its own photo eye on. I haven't gotten into it. Right now there is no lights on pole out on the end of the dock. It's not proper to display a US flag at night without it being lit. I'm looking for the town of Sevastopol to take over the maintenance, or Whitefish Bay Association to take over the maintenance of that pole like they do with all the other poles in the park here and all over. I realize that that pole was donated by Whitefish Bay Association when the dock was built. And we've been maintaining it pretty much up until the last couple of years. Also, yes, I know there is poison ivy up by the breaker box, and that's why I use high boots when I went up there to work on the electrical part. But I'm not doing that anymore, and it doesn't seem that we can find anybody that's going to do it. And right now, the flag, Pete put a new flag up, but there is no light on the pole. I just feel that it should be switched over to the town to maintain it, just like they do all the other flags and everything around here.
Okay. Comments?
I don't disagree. You take care of everything else down there. For to spend a couple minutes on that.
I think the best way to address that is to refer it to the park committee and let them deal with it at a future meeting. There is, as you indicated, it was and is the property of the Whitefish Bay Association. So, but we can refer it to the park committee and see what their take is on it at a future meeting. I don't think there's an agenda set yet for one, but in the next month or so, I would guess. So you might get recalled for that. Okay?
Thank you.
No problem. All right. Anyone else wishing to speak? All right. Well, I assume that the agenda was properly noticed.
The agenda was properly noticed.
We have a motion to accept the agenda, adopted, I should say.
I'll make a motion to accept tonight's agenda.
Motion by Jeannie, second by Mark. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is dropped. Approval of minutes, Board of Supervisors meeting from February 18. I'll have a chance to take a look at those. Motion to approve would be in order.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I heard Derek first.
I'll make a motion to approve the February 19th.
I'll second that.
All right. Motion by Derek, second by Mark to approve the minutes from February 19th. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? We're off and running. Okay. Pending business. The next three items actually fall on one person, so we'll be busy tonight. Linda has the newsletter and has an update for us on some of the subjects.
Okay, in your packet is a timeline for anticipated newsletter. We expect it to go out in early July. So you see the list of articles there, the revaluation and assessments. We have a new building inspector. We'll have an update on our broadband AT&T project. Maybe a call out to Sevastopol businesses to see if we might get a group going. Talk about the park upgrades, the pickleball courts, some zoning reminders, Cave Point and Shallow Road update. We hope to get an article from our fire chief and also from our Sevastopol TV people and the clerk's corners, and maybe some fun photos or new faces welcoming, and then listing our events and meetings that are going on. So the timeline is, please, June 1st, submit a draft to Amy and myself. If you have photos, please include a JPEG photo and or more than one photo. June 5th would be our final edit of the articles and the photos. I'm getting a little feedback here. Maybe I'm too close. And then between June 10th and the 15th is when Amy and Laddie and we'll get together and approve a final layout. and then hopefully June 20th, send it off to the printer, and by July 1st, Sunshine Resources is, they have done the collating and train and stamping for us, so we would get that to them to sort and mail. And I also got a request to include some reminders for dogs must be leashed, and also about fireworks. Again, new faces, maybe some pictures of our park employees, an article from our new supervisor. Yeah, so I think it's going along fine. I did have an idea that the last time we printed our newsletter, it was kind of like heavy glossy paper, which is probably more expensive than, this is the Door County Historical Society. It is actually a 12-page on less quality
stock.
paper. And I think we would have enough to fill up 12 pages instead of our usual 8. So feel free to expand on your articles and your photos, and Amy and Laddie and I will make it all fit. So, okay? June 1st, article deadline.
Have you talked to the fire chief about, is she aware?
She is aware, and
Okay.
she's going to be here tomorrow night, so we're going to remind her about that. Oh, and that reminds me, Jeannie, if you would please get a hold of Robin
Yes, I
at
have it on a note.
AT&T.
Oh, yeah.
She was going to do an article for
Yes.
us on the broadband, the AT&T project. So I think that's about it. If anybody has an issue or a concern or a reminder that they would like us to include in the newsletter, please reach out to myself or Amy on that. Okay?
Quick question, Amy, when is the postal increase? Is that July 1?
July, like
I don't have to worry about it, I have enough stamps.
I know, but the postage is applied to this.
Well, I don't know if that
I
applies
don't
to the
think-
bulk
Is it just
mailing.
That
just
doesn't
first
apply to
class?
Yeah,
that.
I think bulk
It's just first
mailing
class.
would be okay.
Correct.
Okay. All right, well, it's good, just thought.
So hopefully a big trade and are ready to go before July 1st,
Right.
Yeah.
if there is an increase.
Okay,
So,
great.
all right.
Thank you for taking that under
right.
your wing. Next
Oh,
item,
and then
go ahead.
also, need info, check out our website. There's lots of information, all the forms, permits, ordinances, or whatever are on our website. So if you have questions, maybe check out the website before you call Amy. That might save her and yourself a little time, so. All righty?
All right, thank you.
Questions?
Well, you're going to have the privilege of going through the floodplain update as
Okay,
well.
the floodplain. I did go to the public hearing on March 7th in the afternoon at the Government Center with the Resource Planning Committee at the county level. This new update was initiated back in 2023. It is mandated by the Federal Emergency and Management Association,
Yep.
FEMA.
FEMA.
And the Wisconsin Department of Revenue. So again, it is mandated. The county didn't have a choice. It is final and effective as of March 26th of this year, 2024. You can go to the Land Use Services website at the county level, and there are links there if you want to look at any maps, if you want to see if your property is in the list. There were quite a number of additional parcels included, like about 300 that have been added to the floodplain map. So again, if you had any questions, you could go to one of those websites, or I'm sure somebody at the Land Services Department could help you as well. And
Linda?
Mr. Zettel is part of the RPC, so he might want to expand on that. It's 80 pages, so there you go.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just one side comment. As part of this process, the Land Use Department also engaged with the DNR, since the DNR is part of this floodplain initiative. And what they did is they did surveys of all the inland lakes as well. And so one of the things it's going to do is going to save folks, for example, in the Clarks Lake area, about having to do separate hydrological surveys. Because when the DNR did their analysis along with FEMA, they set elevation marks. So you don't have to worry about setting separate elevations as far as doing hydrological studies. So folks that live on Clark Lake or Kangaroo Lake or any other inland lakes would have otherwise had to incur substantial costs in order to do hydrological studies, since there wasn't anything officially available from land use. So down the road, that's going to provide savings to the folks that are on those inland lakes as well. Thank you.
It was a good turnout for the public hearing. I would say we had about 30, 40 interested people there, questioning the floodplain and the new ordinance and that. So it was a good hearing.
There was a meeting held in 2023 that I went to where there were a number of people that were concerned about their property. It was on Lake Forest, that were concerned about their property being included, and they had to hire an engineer to go back and refute FEMA's analysis, which they were able to do. So, but it got them, there were some major issues there. So,
Well, it's my understanding that any properties added would receive notice automatically. That's my understanding. So, if you weren't in it before and you're in it now, I believe you will receive notice.
yeah, those people all did. That's how they became aware of it. So, okay, thanks, Linda and Hugh.
Okay.
Bridge and culvert inventory update. The state has mandated that we go out and track and report back on our bridges and culverts, and you'll never guess who was at that meeting.
I love to go to meetings.
Why don't you cover that then, Linda?
Okay, so as part of the state biennial budget 2024-25, they have dedicated $12.5 million towards the project to define, inventory, and assess all of the small bridge culverts in the state. So they thought that having an assessment and an inventory would maybe solve some problems before asking for dollars to start repairing these bridges and culverts. So phase one is the inventory. And we had hoped, at first we thought that our Door County Highway Department would do that inventory for us, but at the meeting, Door County Highway Commissioner Thad Ash said, sorry, but he just does not have the personnel to do that. So fortunately, Greg Colthurst from Door County Soil and Water Conservation Department was there, and he and his team offered to do the inventory. So according to Greg's latest email, they have finished inventories in the towns of Union and Gardner. So Union has 14 bridges, Gardner has 12. They're starting on Nassawapi, and they are doing 10 of the 14 towns in Door County. So I don't know how far we are on the list.
He said May.
In May?
Yeah,
Okay,
we asked
so
him
that's
to.
not far away.
And when's the date that's supposed to be?
December 31st. So inventory first, then assess, and I believe it has to be like an engineering firm. It has to be a professional firm that actually does the assessment. So once they have the inventory on file, the professionals can go out and
And
do the
they do have to do that because if you recall, a few years back, we had to fix Whitefish Bay Creek. In fact, twice that had to be fixed because they came out and did an analysis and determined that that was one of the bridges that there was a concern about. So I haven't heard from them since the last repair, but hopefully that stays the way it is.
Well, they think there's about 25,000 structures that will fall into this category in the state. So that's that.
Okay, thank you, Linda. Shower Road update. I'm not sure that we have enough time tonight to try and discuss this. It's turning into quite a confusing topic. For those of you that are maybe not up to speed on it, the town owns the road, Shower Road, that runs from WD into Cave Point County Park. And on one side is Whitefish Bay Dunes State Park, on the other is the county park. So we have the unique position of a town road going to nowhere in the town except to county and state property. The road has been narrow for a long time, and as a result, there's been a number of concerns regarding people on bicycles, people running off the edge of the pavement and having mechanical problems with their car. So probably, it's been over a year. Yeah, it's been over a year. The county convened a group of people that were concerned about it, the Wisconsin DNR, the County Parks Department, the town, which owns the road, and a bunch of other people, to talk about possible solutions to fixing the road. The town has repaved the road in the past, but due to DNR restrictions, we were limited in width. So we were never able to properly shoulder the road or create a road that was wide enough. During the discussions, Thad Ash, the County Highway Commissioner, proposed a new road be attached to our existing road, just a short distance from WD, creating a straight path to the parking lot. And in that process, the remaining portion of basically the U that you see in the bottom of that map would be in turn given back to Wisconsin DNR, who the park managers from Whitefish Bay Dunes and Potawatomi were enthusiastic about, because they could then incorporate it in part of their trail system and deal with some issues that they had. So we started marching down that path, and the first thing that we had to do was to do an environmental review with the DNR to make sure that the new path didn't have any endangered species, any burial grounds, as obviously that portion was settled by the Potawatomis. So it took us a long time to get to that particular point in time. And I think it was February when it came about, or maybe January. They finally came back and they said, okay, this route in theory looks okay, but until you start digging, and if you have to meander left or right, it might impact that, but in theory it looks okay. In the meantime, the state, the DNR realty people touched base with the county and came back with part of this, and I just skipped a section. The portion of the road above the park going to Jacksonport was going to be closed off, available for people to access, but would not become a through highway. All right? In other words, it wouldn't go up to Shower Park in Jacksonport. So that was part of this proposal. So subsequently, what happened is the real estate group and the DNR came back and said, well, we got some problems with that. The DNR does not allow you to abandon a road going to the water, even though we really would not be abandoning it, but it would require their involvement. At the same time, they didn't necessarily think at headquarter level that they wanted to swap land for the old road and the new road. And just a myriad of problems cropped up. So Wayne Spritka, who is the chairman for the Door County Parks and Facilities, went and contacted them and said, well, you know, we're doing this because we're trying to solve a problem with the existing road that Sevastopol has. And all of a sudden, the realty department said, well, you know, if you pay a fee for another environmental review, we'll tell you what's underneath your existing road, which of course we'd been trying to find for 20 years. So he was kind enough to reach into his wallet and send them off the money, and now they are going to do an environmental review of our existing roadway so that we can then do a comparison of the costs and the benefits or lack of benefits for going to the new road or an old road, which would have to be reconstructed, because you can't just attach 2 feet of pavement to an existing road and say it's wider. It won't hold up. So the gist of this conversation is I'll probably be reporting on this next year at this time, but there's more homework to be done, and I anticipate it'll probably take us a few months again for the DNR to respond back to us, and then for us to try and compare cost benefits. And even if all of that good stuff happens, we frankly don't have the money to do it this year anyhow, so at best it might be a 25 project in concert with the county. So that's, I think that's it, at least as best I can describe. Question?
So the new route is totally off the table until this environmental study is completed?
Not totally off the table,
existing?
just on hold until we get another review of our existing road.
Yeah, by the DNR. Oh.
In which time then they'll compare the costs. And if we can, the part that really frustrates me is this is not our first go-round on this road.
Right.
We're asking what's up. Twice it's been paved to my knowledge, and both times they've refused to let us expand beyond the existing footprint. Well, there's no shoulders there, so if you drive down that road, you know, and it's curvy, and if you go off the edge, or you're riding a bicycle and go off the edge, you either blow a tire or go off into the dandelions, or as you prefer, poison ivy, or tree stumps. So, and as I understand, the most recent comment was that the Jacksonport residents who are on the north side of Cave Point Park would like the road to be closed, thereby stopping all the traffic, and the town chairman up there would like the road to be open.
Yeah, it's kind of a mixed bag on that north end. I've been working up there and getting a lot of questions and comments.
Yeah, so, you know, who knows?
As of right now, is that still the plan to close it, or is it, do you see that?
It's just, all of it's kind of up in the air. If you recall, and maybe you don't, but I want to say Leo was the chairman at the time. We had just spent $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 to repair the ramp at Clark Lake boat ramp. And so it had just been repaired, and rather than have cars access it and have all kinds of problems, we closed the ramp for ice fishing, and we moved it to the beach and opened up a new location. Well, the DNR became totally unglued because, according to them, we abandoned a road, even though we gave them another road just as a temporary. Well, by the time they got done threatening to sue us, it was spring, and the old ramp reopened. So I don't think that'll happen here, but it's always challenging to deal.
How did Jacksonport go from Shower Park to Clark Lake? They widened that all out, repaved it and everything. How did that happen?
Well, that's not in the state park. That's their road.
Okay.
We're stuck
You're
in the
Yeah,
state
it's all
park.
private on that.
Yep.
Yeah. Somebody was so kind to give us that road back when Whitefish Bay Dunes, instead of giving it to them. And I tried to.
Give us a flagpole now. See
Yeah,
how it's still working?
yeah, that's right. Take that off the park agenda.
I'm not getting in the road business.
Good. All right. So anyway, that's everything I know at the moment on that. Next item on the agenda is ARPA funds, the American Rescue Plan funds at
72,000.
Thank you. What we need to do is we need to officially obligate those funds so that we can stop having to report every other day to the feds on what we're doing with those dollars. And they must be obligated to projects by December 31st of 2024.
Correct.
Right. So what we're going to do tonight is, through a motion, is we're going to obligate those funds to our road construction budget. That does not mean that we're going to necessarily spend it on road construction, but we're going to move it from the category that we have to into one that is acceptable by the federal government statutes. So, anybody have a question on that? Otherwise, it's a simple motion to move those funds to that category.
So I kind of looked, I did not see that we were required to do a formal resolution, that motion and minutes will constitute
Correct.
obligation.
Right. And we've consulted with our CPA on that as well, so we're good to go. So if somebody, unless you have further questions, a motion to move that money would be the next item.
Okay, well, I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion that our ARPA funds of approximately $272,000 at this point be obligated to our road construction budget. I think that's all I need to say.
I'll second that.
All right, motion by Linda, second by Jeannie, to obligate those funds to road construction. Any further conversation? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? You may move the money, Amy.
Perfect.
All right. So we have two things that we want to establish as part of our new business discussion tonight, and one is to set the time for the 2024 road tour. And after that, we want to set time for our budget workshop, which is typically in the fall. Generally speaking, we try and do the road tour in early May so that we can get the work out and get it on a schedule on a timely basis for early completion. And typically, we try to do a Friday. If that works for somebody, I would be open to,
May 17th is out for me.
all right?
That's the
So-
only one that works, I can make it work, but I prefer
We'll
it
start
not.
with the 3rd or the 10th,
The 24th is probably out for me.
all right? So
Well, that's-
we're whittling down to
That's
the,
Memorial Weekend anyway.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, it's out for me too.
how about the 10th?
Memorial Weekend.
3rd or the 10th?
Third would work best for me.
3rd works good for one.
I can make it work.
Okay. 3rd?
Yep.
3rd. Going once, going twice?
Done.
Time,
8 a.m.
8?
8, yeah, let's do 8. And we're gonna make part of that is we have some roads to look at, 2 roads that we want to continue on from last year, and we have to go down Glidden and take a look at the access lanes. So that'll be part of that. So 8 o'clock, May 3rd. You got that down, Amy?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good to go. And the budget workshop, which is, you
October.
tell me the best date there, Amy, and we'll work backwards.
Typically the second week in October, so we're looking at like the 7th.
7th through the 11th.
I'm out October 3rd through October 11th.
Okay, like the 14th.
Yep,
14th, we have, 14th,
21st is the board meeting.
yeah, I'm just looking to see, oh, that's Columbus Day, that's
It's
why it's
in-
highlighted.
Yeah, that's why I
Indigenous
said it.
People Day.
14th works for me.
It's fine.
You're out from the 3rd through the,
I'm out the 3rd through the 11th.
No, 14th is fine.
no, let's move it back a couple days, if no one has a problem. Would the 16th work? Wednesday, the 16th? Okay,
I can't do the 17th or 18th, so the 16th would be fine.
all right,
This will be
everybody's,
in the evening anyway.
yeah, it'll be in the evening, 16th of
okay.
October.
Yep, what
Tre-
time?
5, normally 5 or 5:30, then we
5:30?
do that, Amy.
6.
I thought it was
6?
6
5:30,
o'clock.
6? 5:30?
5:30.
5:30?
5:30, all
May
right.
16th?
16th Wednesday.
Wednesday the
Or on
16th at
October
5:30.
16th,
October 16th, a Wednesday,
5:30.
5:30.
Budget workshop.
And maybe we won't have to move it 3 more times. Okay, great. All right. Next item is First Bank requests a conditional use permit to install a drive-through for a proposed bank to be located on the corner of Old Highway Road and Highway 57 and Egg Harbor, actually, right in that corner. We probably have all seen the signs. Linda, you want to start with this?
Sure. So the Plan Commission heard this last Tuesday, April 9th, and we had Mr. Hirth, oh, you moved, was there, and a couple of the neighbors were also there. On Bank First request for a conditional use permit to install a drive-through. So this corridor on Old Highway Road is already zoned commercial center, so that is allowable. Banking, a financial institution would be an allowable use in that area, but apparently you need a conditional use permit to have drive-throughs, and probably from safety standards and neighboring property standards, that's probably why they request a cup. We had a very healthy discussion. You see the draft minutes in your packet. I hope that everybody had a chance to look at those minutes because we covered a lot. I'll briefly summarize, and Mr. Zettel is here, and Pete can answer any questions too as well. So, Bank First is headquartered in Manitowoc. We had Mr. Faulkner, Aaron Faulkner, Vice President of Business Banking in Green Bay, was also here. I would say the discussion centered around the neighborhood. So like I said, the parcels are zone commercial center in that area, but if you're familiar with it, which I'm sure you are, there are also residential houses it's residential in that neighborhood as well. It's a mixed use. So our discussion, we tried to see how we might maintain the quality of that residential neighborhood to, I guess, the privacy of the neighbors as well. Again, the minutes reflect some ideas that we had that the Plan Commission came up with. And in our recommendation, we kind of summarized it as to the installation of a fence to the maximum height, which I believe is 15 feet per the county ordinance.
8 feet.
Oh, I'm sorry, 8 feet.
Oh, I was gonna say, I've never seen
Yeah,
15
15 feet, that would be pretty high.
It's gonna be impressive.
You really hate your neighbors if it's 15.
Wow.
Trees, I'm thinking of the trees that are 15. So, one of the conditions, it is consistent with our comprehensive plan, like I said, that we intend that area to be commercial, so no problem there. So the conditions that we would like to see was to install a fence at the maximum height, again, 8 feet along, and if you saw the drawing, that would be along the, I'll say it's the east boundary line, the adjacent residential property. A nice-looking fence.
Northeast.
Northeast,
Yeah,
I guess. You know, that would be visually and aesthetically pleasing as well. So the fence, we figured that the fence height and length would help to ensure light and noise disruptions be kept at a minimum. We also hope to see some mitigation or some type of buffering for the noise from bank teller speakers and vehicle engines, acoustic absorbing vegetation or whatever, plantings, trees and such, wherever practical. We'd like to see the developer retain as many existing trees, established trees as possible. Again, if you're familiar with that lot, there are a lot of trees on it. You can see that from the overhead there. There was specific mention of a walnut tree that the neighbor would like to retain. We would hope that we could minimize lighting impacts and trespass, especially for light directed towards the adjacent residential property. So if you look at the site drawing and the drive-through, the cars, vehicles would come in, make that curve, which would shine towards that residential property to the northeast. So whatever could be done to minimize that. And also that outside lane would probably include the ATM, which would be 24/7. So again, lights and noise and vehicles running in that. We also talked about the need to address a paved shoulder if need be. That would be dependent on traffic, of course. There would be one driveway, so there would be, there's 2 existing driveways. One would be forfeited, so just one driveway. We also talked about a suggestion to add a street light at the intersection there of Old Highway and Egg Harbor Road, especially if there's going to be increased traffic. And we talked a lot about the good neighbor policy. Mr. Faulkner indicated that they would do their best to be a good neighbor, so we appreciated that. Again, quality of life and respecting the privacy of the residential house next door. And then, of course, the driveway permit, if they are going to widen the driveway. That is Old Highway is a town road, so that would require a driveway permit. We did have the neighbors there, Bailey Kepsel and Braden Olson. Mr. Olson is here tonight. Maybe he'll want to comment on something if I've missed anything. So those were our recommendations. I don't know if there's anything that Mr. Hirth wants to add.
Yes.
Can I ask a couple questions real quick first, just to Linda? Linda, can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
On the shouldering, are you talking on Egg Harbor Road, or are you talking, because it said more shouldering? You talking Egg Harbor or Old Highway?
Egg Harbor, that intersection, you know, I'm sorry, Old Highway. That intersection of Old Highway and Egg Harbor was recently improved. I mean,
Yeah, because
they
North
added
Ave was
pavement
doing
to
that
the
when
curve.
they closed
Right,
off.
when the roundabout, or
Yep.
when the traffic was cut off from going
Gordon Road.
south or north on Gordon, they increased that. So that is not the shoulder we're talking about. This would be at access to the property.
It'd be
If-
Like
before.
a turn lane, kind of, is that what you're?
Yes, so a paved shoulder.
Okay.
I know there's a difference between an official turning lane and a paved shoulder, the standards, so we'll just have to see.
Okay. That's good.
And I can address that. So thank you for having me. Pete Hirth with Stantec. We did the site design for the bank, and we were here last week in front of the Plan Commission. I had a follow-up meeting with the neighbors on Friday. It was a great meeting, so Brady can speak when I'm done, but I think we accomplished a lot. So what I'll do is I'll kind of run through where we're at, and then I do have an updated plan here that Laddie could probably zoom in on, or I could stand up in front and show once I'm through, kind of through the list. So we did agree to place a 170-foot long wooden fence, 8 feet high, decorative type wooden fence, right at the lot line basically, between the properties. And the neighbor was in agreement that we kind of set flags out in the field, and that was the limits that they preferred, so I think that accomplished a lot. Also, if you take a look at the where the septic system is on the proposed plan, there are some large trees, a grove of large trees there that we will be able to save, which will add an additional buffer to the neighbor. So that was good news doing our site walk. As far as the turn lane, there actually are paved 10-foot lanes there right now on the shoulders. So that must have been recently improved. So there is no additional need for any kind of turn in or bypass lane. They already are paved. So we have 24 feet of existing asphalt, which is the road, plus 10 feet on each side for the turn lanes. As far as the drive-through itself, again, the conditional use permit that we need to get county approval on is really limited just to the drive-through. And of course, we're concerned with the entire look of the building, but again, focusing on the drive-through itself. Creating the fence accomplishes the neighbor's goal, saving the trees accomplishes the neighbor goal. I have a photo that Aaron Faulkner with the bank actually took when he went home from the meeting that night. I told him to take some pictures at night of kind of how those drive-throughs are lit. And there's can lights underneath the canopy. It's canister lights that point down into the drive-through itself. There aren't any glare lights that are pointed away from the drive-through or anything. And I do have a picture of that here we can zoom in on. As far as the noise, the outside lane is the ATM. But again, the canopy of the roof extends beyond that last lane, and there is a wall there as well. So we feel it is going to be, we're doing everything we can to be a good neighbor there. So what did I miss? I guess why don't I stand up and Laddie can probably zoom in on the plan and you can see it a little bit better.
Well, here, that.
So again, to start with, this is the photo he took at night of the existing one down in Green Bay. So again, there's canister lights underneath the canopy, and then there is a wall on the outside extent that would basically block if a car is here making any noise, you put in walls. So that's that. The fence limits, the 170-foot fence would go from here to here. And again, those are flags we set in the field with the neighbor who lives here, the house is about here. And then this is the grove of large trees we can save, so that'll be maintained. So everything else goes through, it's an over-the-counter permit with the county, and the only thing again is just a drive-through to have the town reaction and the conditional use permit for the drive-through itself. This is just a typical fence we found online. It's not in stone here as far as exactly what it's going to look like, but a wooden fence, something for that similar feel we feel is appropriate. Again, there's a sample of another bank first drive-through, kind of what it feels like.
Are those lights on top of the drive-through on your right? Are those
Open and
open
clear.
and closed?
Yeah, those are-
And are those incorporated into a header over the?
Yeah, yep. So those again would be facing, those would be here and here.
Okay,
So they'd be facing not toward the neighbor.
okay.
Facing the highway.
That's what I was wondering about.
And I think one of our plan commission members, when she first looked at the site, she actually had it flipped so that, or she thought it was flipped so that the drive-through was on, I'll say, the south side, but you indicated that that just would not work, so.
Right, and this was a good example of I had a relationship with the bank prior to this project, and they came to me and said, we bought a property in Sturgeon Bay, let's annex it and go to the city, and I said, well, no, we don't need to do that. So, again, being a bank, there's not real high water usage, so we can put it on septic system that fits. So we looked at good soils to do that. It's a long system. There's an existing well we can use. There's no reason to go ahead and do that. So talked them into it a little bit. I think it's the right move, and I think it's a good thing for the town. It's going to be
Thank you.
great business, and it works out well for the site. So great. Any other questions? I'd be happy to answer.
The one thing on your paperwork here, it says the completion date, November of '24, and then other times it says '25, just so you guys don't go in with the wrong numbers.
Yeah, we're probably starting this fall. It would be complete next summer.
Yeah, because
Okay.
later on it says summer of
Sure.
'25, and on addendum page 4, it's got November '24, just so you don't go in there with the wrong.
Yeah.
Check that over.
And what does the landowner have to say?
I can, my wife and I were in attendance last week, and Mr. Zettel, sitting in front of me, did actually bring up the light pollution and the quality of life concern. And as Pete mentioned, we did meet with him this past Friday. We walked the property line. We took a look at the walnut tree, and we discussed building a fence, and after all was said and done, we definitely have a great understanding with Pete, and we did start looking at fencing options as well. So our concerns were addressed again by Mr. Zettel, and Pete was nice enough to meet us, and we support moving forward with the construction of the fence as the commission suggested. So, all good things to say from us.
Good, thank you. So, I don't remember when Culver's came, they have a drive-through. Did we have a meeting regarding their drive-through? Because I cannot recall that. No, it's just kind of like, I'm thinking this is a change to zoning, because I don't recall any, not that it matters, it was just kind of a nit.
Right,
So-
and when we first approached the county, they basically said it's over the counter, and then I got called back a couple days later, oh, by the way, the drive-through does have to get, I'm like, okay, that's fine. So,
All right. Well,
Cooperation and respect for your neighbor, and, right?
so does the board have any more questions with respect to this?
I just have a quick
Linda,
question.
you pretty much know your, I'm sorry, do you have a question?
Yeah, so the drive-through lights, the red and the green lights, that's gonna be facing towards the highway. Is that gonna interfere with people driving down the highway, or is that gonna be trees, buffer, or what?
So far away.
Yeah, I can give you a distance. It's about 200 feet to the highway.
So is there gonna be like some kind of buffer on the side of the highway, so
Yeah, there
people
will.
driving down the highway will not see those lights?
It's 200 feet.
Yeah, so these trees will be saved. Obviously, they are going to clear trees to get a view of the bank from the highway. That's their exposure. So you will see the bank from the highway. But again, and those are too small. Those are the small exit, enter, open, whatever lights that are on there. They're not spotlights shining out toward the highway.
Okay, so they're not gonna be like super bright like it shows in that picture?
Yeah, the pictures.
Okay, just
Yeah,
thought I would ask.
a little
I think
clear.
we put on a timer. That would be, if that's a concern. Yeah, but I just wanted to make sure from your conditions perspective, you're good to go. on the documentation back to the RPC?
Yes, and we could, so I guess I would make a motion to forward a recommendation of support from the town to the Resource Planning Committee for this project, and using the recommendations as outlined in the Plan Commission recommendation, with maybe adding that the applicant and neighboring property owner have been in contact with each other and have resolved their issues. Add that.
Okay. So a motion by Linda, second by?
Second.
Second by Mark. All right, any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Thank you. So, financial reports. This is the month where we get to have lots of financial reports because of the lack of meeting in March. So, you have your account balances through February. You have your transaction list for the month by date for February. Account balances through March 31st in your packet, as well as budget versus actual January through March, and transaction list by date for the month of March, all in one big thing. And before we do that, I think Amy might have a word or two.
Yeah, the town has received our contribution just today from the county for our broadband expansion, so that was roughly $54,000. Yes. The town made our annual contribution to the Door County Humane Society during that matching donation cycle, so our $2,000 turned into $4,000. And we did pay our second quarter fire protection to the City of Sturgeon Bay Fire Department.
Oh, good, thank you much. Any questions on the financial reports? If not, a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the financial and treasurer's report in February and March of 2024.
Motion by Mark, second by?
Second that.
Second by Jeannie. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries, thank you. All right, approval of vouchers, bills, and claims, February 20th through April 15th. I think you've all seen those and signed off, correct?
Yes.
So a motion to approve would be in order.
I'll make a motion to approve the vouchers, bills, and claims from February 20th, 2024 through April 15th, 2024.
Motion by Jeannie, second by?
Second.
Second by Derek. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. All right. Oral committee and commission reports. Does anyone have anything? Do you?
I'll comment just briefly.
Okay. Topic?
Our latest minutes and the result of the STOPA,
Oh, all right.
and then also on the tourism zone, if I may, please.
You may indeed.
Okay, so Amy included the minutes of our previous plan commission on February 13th, and for your information, that was the STOPA Trust petition to rezone an area maybe 16 feet wide and maybe 12 feet long from wetland to SF20 for the purposes of a driveway, and the RPC did deny that. So, and then regarding the Door County Tourism Zone, our next meeting is Thursday, full commission meeting. For your information, we now have 28 commissioners on the tourism zone. So if you reap more than, was it 200,000?
Oh, based on,
you get
that's right.
a second commissioner or a third commissioner. So there's 28 on the board right now. I did visit our new space, which is in the Economic Development Corporation over there on the west side. Met our newest full-time employee, Ray Fick, nice gentleman. There are currently 1,526 permits as of last month, 2024, compared with 1,453 last year. 20 new STR permits this past month. That's throughout the county, not Sevastopol. And I think that's about it for the tourism zone. I don't need, like I said, we have a meeting on Thursday, so. Oh, room tax revenue for 2023. We had budgeted $11,242,000, and actual was $11,690,000. So, 11,690,000. Sorry.
On the short-term rental, there was an article on the evening news yesterday, I think it was evening news, and it talked about a gal in St. Petersburg, Florida, that her mission is to uncover short-term rentals that have not complied, and she had uncovered over 100. And she said, it's easy to do, and that's my job. I take it upon myself, I can have an impact. And then she turns it into the county, and the county goes out and finds them and gets, I mean, it was unbelievable.
Well, it's funny you should mention that, because in our packet for Thursday, Juliana has a list of unpermitted properties that she has uncovered. There's like, I don't know, 60 of them, and I think 75% were in the town of Gibraltar, none in Sevastopol. But, so all these rentals that are operating without their zone permit, and probably without their municipal.
DAT cap, probably.
Their municipal permit, yes, nor their DAT cap permit,
Yep.
so. Also in our last month's meeting was, I kind of looked at, the Destination Door County includes a very lengthy report every month, but they had talked about visitor spending in January. So visitor spending in January was actually quite healthy, whereas there was only like 0.4 tourists per visitor spending, per resident. So that tells me that not only are tourists spending money, but also our residents. So we need to take some credit for some of those, that sales tax as well, and
Great.
spending,
Yes.
so, sales tax.
All right. Thank you, Linda. We do need a motion to approve the minutes from the Plan Commission meeting of February 13th.
I'll move to approve.
Motion by Linda, second by
Second?
Jeannie. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried, thank you. And we have County Board report from District 14 Supervisor Hugh Zettel. Hugh?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to cover a couple items that were at the March 26, 2024 meeting, which is the last meeting for the previous two-year term. Obviously, the one that has had a lot of discussion with this board has been enforcement challenges with land use department, enforcement of conditional use permits, and support of that organization. There was a resolution to increase staffing after a consultant report kind of identified challenges that they have in doing everything from completing certificates of compliance, which is, the kind of the last stage of when a permit is done. They have a huge backlog, some of that stemming from when they did some reorganization back in 2016, 2017 timeframe, exacerbated a little bit by all the activities going on with COVID, and then a huge kind of construction activity and change of ownership. I think roughly coming from the land use department, I think they had a stat that's somewhere between a fourth or more of parcels have changed ownership in the county, which is a huge amount of activity. So they have a huge backlog that they're trying to work through. So in addition to these staffing changes, there's also some other resources being pulled and support from other organizations like the technology organization to help them with some potential IT solutions that they can deploy to help them with their backlog. Part of this staffing funding is also in anticipation that in a couple of years they may have some pending retirements in their department. So this will basically help them, staff with anticipation that they'll basically back to almost level loading with potential pending retirements that will occur. So it's a little bit forward-looking in that regard. There were also some other changes that were made in staffing, again, to help make sure their focus is on trying to resolve this backlog. So the land information team and the GIS team is now going to be reporting to Register of Deeds. So that's being moved as part of this effort. And the other part is the Land Use Department was also in charge of the E911 sign replacement activity. That basically is now being moved back to the Judiciary and Public Safety Committee, which fortunately or unfortunately I also serve on. So it kind of, it's like the stone in your shoe that just kind of follows you around. The RPC will be maintaining the ordinance, because they have to assign addresses and et cetera for parcel sales. They'll still retain that, and they'll get the ordinance updated. But the sign project as well is going to move back to Judiciary and Public Safety. So that's, again, taking some of that activity off of land use so they can focus again on accountability, if you will, relative to certificates of compliance, conditional use permits, enforcement, those sorts of matters. Another item related to that, all things land use, I believe the members of the Plan Commission, I think probably this board also got a notification that there is going to be a listening session with Land Use Department and the Plan Commissions for all the towns that are part of the comprehensive zoning, that are under Door County comprehensive zoning, that is as of a result of a request I specifically made at the last county board meeting. I had raised concern that the consultant and all of their work to look at the issues, they forgot to talk to the customer. And that is basically the towns that are under the comprehensive zoning plan that have had the concerns and have raised the concern. So this listening session, as part of that, is to get your feedback as a town regarding their plan to get better and make things right. So I encourage you to attend. I will be attending since I'm a member of the Resource Planning Commission.
Is that April 30th, you?
April 30th at 4:30.
Yeah, April 30th at 4:30.
I thought it was, okay.
So hopefully, this will, there's still some planning, there's still some detailed work that's going on to kind of, get these folks hired and get going. But there will be continued keen oversight by the Resource Planning Committee, and we'll continue to watch over that. So please attend the April 30th meeting so we can make sure that they get the feedback from the town. So hopefully, Mr. Chair, based on the concerns that we've raised over the last couple of years, we can see some movement in a positive direction.
The only thing that, I was encouraged by it, but then I also know that Sue Van Landenberg left.
Yes.
Because Kay Miller, who used to work for zoning, got promoted, and Sue moved to take Kay's job. And I also heard that Jeff Cuso is coming back to fill the gap, one of the voids, which would, I think, be good news. But the thing that bothers me about compliance is the legal aspect. Every time they do something now through compliance is going to require them to engage corporation counsel. And I don't know if they've covered that base or not.
Yes, they have. We've talked about staffing and other resources to help them.
Okay.
And they're also going to go through with the backlog, go through a risk management process to see what buckets of things that they put their backlog into. So yes, that's part of it. There is also some concerns that were raised, is that whether the judicial branch of the county is on board relative to helping be supportive when the county is trying to do enforcement. I guess I'll use it by way of analogy. Everyone's gone down to Madison via, what is that, Highway 23 going through Rosendale.
Yeah.
And if you're familiar with Rosendale, if you go
Speed
25.2 miles
Yep.
per hour over, you get a ticket. And of course, if you take it to their court, it's upheld. So not only, from a quality of life did the town say, hey, we want to maintain the speed limit, that message has also got through to the judiciary. We don't necessarily have that relative to when the county goes to get fines paid and levied, that sort of thing. The judiciary, for some of the things I have learned, isn't so receptive to that. So that's another challenge where I'm going to go through that bunny hole as well to just say, do we need to hire the Rosendale judge? But a lot of this stems just from, again, quality of life isn't just what you as elected officials hear from your constituents. It's got to go all the way through and have the judiciary, when you're trying to do the enforcement, to reflect that, will of the people as well. So that's another part that I'm going to dig into.
I think they would be elated, because if I remember, and Amy might recall, of the most recent fine that we collected, $500 from a nuisance issue, I think $200 went to the police. I think when we got all done, after fees and everything else, I think we got $1.80. So, I wasn't interested. I was trying to get something changed, not so much the money, but I think the majority of it went back to the county coffers and to the sheriffs, so you'd think they'd raise their hand and say, hey, great.
So anyway, so those are some things we're going to be, as a follow-up on that. But I think, a good positive step forward. On ordinances, I think Supervisor Waite, talked about the STAPA resolution was denied at the RPC, which was not unanimous. I supported it. And on the judiciary and private safety, the other big item along with that E911 is we'll be in the midst of doing another RFP. We are going to change the ordinance to kind of reflect the fact that for our EMS services, and the fire departments, which were the big push for getting the signs updated and replaced. At the last meeting, it was basically agreed to or just affirmed that they use apps in order to get to a site, right? Whether it's Google Maps, whether it's Waze. They have some GIS capabilities from our GIS database that are basically in the Stillman system, which is the dispatch system that the sheriff's department uses. So they basically have, the detailed information that gets them to the route. Where you want the sign is to basically say, is it the driveway on the left or the driveway on the right? Just for clarity once they get to that specific location. So that is going to allow us to have signs that are roughly the same size of numbering that we have today instead of 4-inch signs. So we're going to make them smaller. And the biggest thing, obviously, is that it's going to be a flag orientation. So you'll see the numbers on both sides, which the EMS representatives have said is the biggest improvement, is to have the lettering on both sides as you're driving, on either side of the road.
Okay.
So that will help us probably reduce the sizes of the signs and make it a little bit more cost effective. And it's also recognized that it's going to be a couple-year project to replace all those signs, because we're probably going to have to replace posts as well because of the flag orientation. The other piece that's in the judiciary and public safety is there's an analysis that is looking at the creation of a EMS facility somewhere between the Sturgeon Bay Station and the Sister Bay Station. So kind of at that latitude where Egg Harbor and Jacksonport are located. So they're one of the challenges with that is they typically report volume of calls, but they don't talk about how long it takes you to get there. Right, and when you look at your fire department reports, that's one of the big numbers you look at is how long does it take to get to a non-emergent or an emergent call. So as part of this analysis, I'm asking them to provide how long does it take, to get, what's the average call rate? So we'll see how that is. And obviously, most of that volume for the timing, it takes longer to get the calls in July and August, obviously, because there's more volume. And so that's going to also drive a discussion on how do you fund that building, which I already told the administrator, that's probably a good Door County tourism fund from a capital project. I don't think there's any appetite currently to staff it full-time, but basically you can reposition EMS staff there in the summer, as you, just to be closer to the call. So that will be an analysis that will probably be available early in the summer that we'll review and then decide if that's going to be put into a budget consideration for 2025. As our clerk treasurer reported, the finance committee last week also approved the grant from the county for $54,325. So that got completed with about another, I think, half dozen or so towns that also were awarded grants for their various broadband works. I know town of Egg Harbor, town of Jacksport, our neighbors around here, town of Sturgeon Bay as well, which is in the final throes of getting their contract completed with AT&T. So some good progress there as well. So with that, if there's any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Regarding the E911 signs, and this isn't so much for EMS response or first responder or fire department response, but every once in a while, someone will say, can I get my sign replaced? And there are signs out there that you cannot read them. So are we talking another 2-3 years? Is it possible to get at least a temporary sign?
Okay.
Or just tell them to go out there with their fingernail polish and paint it on? Or?
I think the goal is to get this RFP out, and actually you can get the signs, we'll get the signs done, and then it's a matter of how they deploy them in a town. And that's also an area where they're talking to see if the town wants to engage with the county in order to, get them replaced faster. But they will get the signs all made, and then maybe if for folks that have it faded or whatever, we provide a way for that to be replaced. I think as part of the challenge too, one of the biggest costs is to do the location services. So for some of this, you have to look for underground, right, and dial 811. So you just don't want anyone just pounding in a post and get a 480 volt tickle. So I think those are things that are just, that has been part of the consideration relative to how we deploy it.
I mean, we can assure them that EMS will find them, just
Yes.
like you said, using the geographical locations in their apps. But it's more for visitors.
This driveway or.
My friends, my family's coming, but they can't read my sign or.
Yes, no, I totally understand that. All right.
Good? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Appreciate it. All right. License and permits. We have inspection specialists, their report for, this is their first report, Amy? Would be, huh? No, we had one last month.
No, we had one.
Last month, we did.
Correct.
Well, first for you.
That's correct, first for me. You're right about that. That's why Linda's on tap this evening. We have the alcohol beverage license application, and that's for Institute and Valmy Athletic Club. Amy?
Yes, they are all ready to go. They are having 6 games this year, not 7, 6 home games, not 7, because there will be one Mighty Pioneer tournament that does not work with their schedule. So they are all paid up, and everything is ready to go for them.
Good, thank you much. Stop and have a beer at the game. All right, in the correspondence, one of the first things in the packet is the Wisconsin 42 detour route, which I think everybody has seen the signs by the mill, forewarning that people that have been caught going through there have paid a price. Apparently, the sheriff has been very active and has issued tickets.
Yes, he has.
So you don't want to be
Yes.
flying through there and thinking, this person got it at 4 a.m, which you wouldn't think there would be any construction, but apparently, these guys are out there earning their salary. The other thing that's not in the packet, but I'll just take a second to mention, is in the fall, I think the dates are September through December, Highway 57 from about the farm north will be closed to the other side of Valmy. There's Logan Creek and Geisel Creek bridges, which will be knocked down and rebuilt. And so for three plus months, almost 4 months, you will be taking the back roads to try and get anywhere for here, for example, depending on the direction that you come. And I know that Welsing's Foodland is elated about the news that people have to fly in with a gas can and then fly out, because it's going to be getting there, it's going to be tough. But at any rate, that's in September through December, those two bridges. And then for people who live north in 2025, they're going to tackle Logan Creek by Old Mr. G's, same kind of thing. So, and we have the Door County Invasive Species Team. They're out working. And by the way, Trent, I forgot to mention, this is going to be part of yours, so you want to pay particular, just want to go out there tonight and start checking. Phragmites forever. Town landfill is in that category. We also have the Sturgeon Bay Fire Department report for the 2 months, February and March, and she will be here tomorrow night for our annual meeting. And I think you have a copy of the annual report, 2023, for the coastal byways. Is there anything on there that you want to touch on, Linda, or you're okay?
No, we're required to submit an annual report, so I pulled together all the numbers. You see our budget there, whatever. We are going to go ahead and print 10,000 copies of our coloring book. We unfortunately were not awarded any grants. I felt really slighted since Amy and everyone else seemed to get a grant, but we couldn't. So anyway, we're going to print 10,000. We have enough money to do that.
All right. And notice of timber cutting for the Schaff residents. Just a footnote on the revaluation. There are some dates that have been set. You know that we are in the process of doing that. And we have set September dates for open book, an opportunity for you to come in and discuss your appraised value up or down at that time. Also, the Board of Review, if you're not successful with your deliberations, will be September 26th. We did get a note from the owner of our appraisal company, and they will send out notices. They're thinking in August, and then they will encourage you to call their office if you would like, and you can talk to the appraisers over the phone, and or you can do it at the open book. But they're going to have those appointments available for you, so if you want to call and set one up once you get your appraised, you can do that. Associated appraisals. Oh, and they included a bill. Okay, that was very nice. Amy already mentioned we had our general transportation aids. And Nicolay Bank is changing its routing number. I guess this is only for commercial accounts.
It's only for commercial, huh?
Yeah, I didn't know a bank could have two routing numbers. Yeah, I know.
It's for everybody. It's probably on your check already.
Oh, you don't even know.
Oh, it's
it?
already been changed.
Yeah, it's already been changed.
Oh, this goes back to the old Bank of Sturgeon Bay. Okay. That's right, you used to
Lake.
work there, you should know that. And Amy mentioned we were able to double our donation with the Humane Society, which is great news.
Yeah.
So, appreciate your timing on that, Amy.
Absolutely.
So announcements tomorrow evening, starting at 6 p.m. instead of 7 is our annual meeting. Welcome to attend and hear about projects that we have, go through our financial with the CPA and a myriad of other things. Our next Board of Supervisors meeting is May 20th at 7 p.m. And before we have a motion to adjourn, the person that usually always adjourns these meetings, Derek, I want to thank you for 4 years of service. Derek is leaving us. Officially, this is his last meeting. So I want to thank you for your time with the Plan Commission and the park and participation as a supervisor. So we look forward to seeing you as an auditor. And hearing that, I will give you a chance.
I will make the motion to adjourn.
All right, we have a motion by Derek, second by Mark. No change in these over 4 years. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you and good evening.